I'm the CEO of a company called Alloy. And I'm actually not going to talk a ton about us, but I want to talk about ethics and automation. But I think it helps to describe what we do before I talk about the ethics of it. Alloy helps financial companies deploy safe and seamless digital experiences for their clients. So these are banks and fintech companies that are used to, that typically have very clunky user experiences. And we help them transform those into making it as easy to sign up for their accounts as using the checkout button on Amazon, and make it as easy for you to use those accounts as using like Lyft or Uber. We do this using data, machine learning, and software to automate the process of sifting out the good people and transactions from the bad actors and malicious actors automatically without any human intervention. And that allows financial companies to deploy really easy to use experiences without having to add friction to stop fraud or manage KYC compliance requirements. We do this at really big scale for the biggest digital banks in the United States primarily. The reason that we started the company and the reason that we care so much about this problem is because we believe if you make it easier to build digital banking and financial services experiences and you make it easier for users to use them, you end up with a more dynamic and therefore more accessible financial industry that will serve more people. You'll have more products in more spaces, and you'll therefore be able to cover more people. And the reason I bring up why we're doing what we're doing is not because I necessarily want to frame the rest of my talk and make it about us. It's because every company at Davos, or that you'll ever basically hear, will frame the mission of their company in some sort of broad, society-facing, social good way like this. You will never find a company that doesn't frame their overall reason for existing around some sort of mission like this. Salesforce is a CRM, but they're going to make business the biggest platform for good in history. Like, everybody has something like this. And I think the reality, when you get into it, is that companies actually have 3 levels of mission orientation. We're going to rule out the possibility that some companies have a mission to do bad. That's probably true. Let's assume everybody's neutral at best. You essentially can ask yourself, what role does the mission of a company play in how they operate? Many companies, there is actually no mission. They create the mission after the fact to justify their existence to society. This is very common. This is probably the majority of companies. There are companies that are mission-oriented. They were actually started because they believed what they were building would be good for the world, but that's sort of where it ends. They think, like, if we build this thing, it'll be good, but that's the end of it. And then there are mission-driven companies who make decisions every single day based on their mission and try to actually orient their entire operating procedures around their mission. I believe that AI and decision-making companies in particular, anybody who wants to do automated decision-making at scale, which is every AI and machine learning company, has got to be mission-driven. I'll give you an example from our business. We make, like I said, decisions about whether people can have financial products. A lot of our clients started asking us whether they could incorporate the citizenship status of applicants into their flows to deny non-US citizens. There's no legal reason to do this. There's nothing that says legally you have to do this or can't do this. There's no legal precedent really for it at all, although one is emerging. And so we were left with this question, like, do we want to sort of fight a battle because we have this mission? We want to create a more dynamic financial industry and want to make it more accessible, and making it less accessible to immigrants would be like against our mission. Or do we want to, do we want to fight a battle with our customers, make it harder for us to get to scale, which might be against our mission because we want to get to scale? And the way that we ended up thinking about this is that if we didn't decide to be mission driven, then we would just be mission oriented, and we would always be saying the end justifies the means. It's always what's in our best interest, which is, that's how we should make the decision, because if we get big and we change the world, that'll be good for the world. The reason this is a problem is this assumes that it's in the realm of policy and lawmakers to decide what is ethical, and it's our responsibility just to follow their lead. But the history of technology tells us this is actually not how things work. Technology enables what's possible. That's what we're all here doing. We're enabling what's possible. That drives norms and best practices, because what's possible makes it so that you can develop best practices, and then the norms influence law and policy. We are active actors. In fact, we are probably the most important actors in what will ultimately become policy, because lawmakers do not go and try to make laws that cannot actually be put into practice or aren't responding to actual changes. And in fact, these 3 things, tech, norms, best practices, and law, they're mutually reinforcing. It comes back around. What the law ultimately says based on the best practices will influence what technology we build. And so if you're here building a machine learning or an AI company, you can't let yourself off the hook just saying that machine learning or RAI or whatever will be good for the world and therefore we've got to get to scale. If you don't think about every decision that you're making Think about how it might influence best practices, policy, and the way that people even talk about what we should and shouldn't do. You're letting yourself off the hook. I chose a very self-serving example where we ultimately made the right decision. That was hard to educate our clients on why they shouldn't necessarily discriminate against folks based on their citizenship status. But we face issues like this every single day and have to spend a lot of our brain power thinking about them. And I hope you all will do the same. Thank you so much. My name's Tommy, the CEO of Alloy, and I appreciate y'all having me.